What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla SPY, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down what Donald Trump said that caused the market to pump, what you should be watching for as time goes on. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And all friends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market is going, I just wanted to mention that NIO saw a little pump towards the end of the day, up 1%. We started off at this 4.1 area with a small dip only to rebound. We're looking for this gap fill tomorrow towards that 4.32 area. But the whole market also pushed, which helped NIO to some extent. If you look at SPY, we broke out of this resistance and we're looking bullish right now. We are approaching the all-time high around the 610s. We'll see if we surpass that level. And if we do that, we're looking for 615 as the next potential target. But if we fail at the all-time high, we could turn back down. So I'll be talking about this in just a couple of minutes. But as you guys can tell, the market pumped. Looking at SPY, it's in the green. The QQQ is in the green. Nvda, Tesla, the majority of stocks pumped quite a bit. So when you look at the market, we saw quite a bit of green. I'm going to talk about exactly why this is. As far as NIO goes, I didn't see too much news that came out. I just saw a lot of talk about the ET5 and potential improvements that could be coming, but nothing else was too crazy. We already saw the same news. I didn't see any new news for NIO. Donald Trump's tariffs, however, are very important for countries around the world, and that's what helped the market push quite a bit. So I'll talk about that in just a second. Just know this. Today is Thursday. We got the PPI data report. So the inflationary numbers were hot, right? CPI was hot. We saw an increase in inflation. As you could tell, inflation is going up quite a bit for the last couple of months. And then PPI data, that's another version of CPI. It's actually for the producer side. That also went up. So this is actually above expectations. So the inflationary numbers are above expectations. People thought that Donald Trump's tariffs could cause downside for the markets. Even I warned you guys about that because every time he mentioned tariffs, the market did dip. But in this case, we did not see that. We did not see the market sell off. Instead, the market got bought back up because of all the negative sentiment, because everyone expected the market to dump. They gave us the exact opposite. So the question is, what's going to happen from this point on? We'll talk about that. Just know that with all this data, we had Donald Trump giving a speech today, and he announced some very important things about tariffs. So I want to talk about some of the things that he said. I actually have some quotes from him I want to read to you guys, which are very, very important. So going back, I want to mention that Trump mentioned that he believes that the federal government loses billions a year in fraud, and he wants to continue to use the VAT tax system. He also mentioned that he has decided to charge a reciprocal tariff. Whatever they charge us, we will charge them. Those are his exact words. He said that we're going to call it a tariff and that they're going to view the VAT tax as a tariff. So that's what he said. He also said that he will consider a value-added tax system as a tariff. He warns against routing groups through different third countries to avoid the tariffs. So he's against that. He's warning countries not to do that. And he mentioned other things. He said that he's trying to level the playing field and that the EU has lowered their tariff to 2.5%. Then he mentioned that no tariff is going to be imposed on manufacturing or building products in the United States. So he said that in Europe, for example, they've decreased their tariff to about 2.5%. And then he also mentioned that other countries will have the option to do that. They could once again reduce or terminate their tariffs in his words. And that's what he's trying to negotiate with. So he's saying what other countries charge the US, they're going to start charging whatever other countries charge the US is going to charge them back, basically. And other countries have the option to lower their tariffs in the US. He also said that this is going to be over and above steel, pharmaceuticals, and car tariffs are to be expected. And then he also mentioned that he expects jobs to go up. Prices could go somewhat up for the short term. And then he also mentioned that autos are going to be coming very soon. So tariffs for autos. And then besides that, he did mention that the reciprocal plan could start by April 2nd. And then besides that, he did mention that the EU does not treat the US fairly. That's his view. And then he did talk about how he wants to negotiate peace with Ukraine and Russia. So that's what he essentially went over. He mentioned one more thing. He said that Taiwan took our chip business away and the US is going to take it back. He went on about that, and he does not want U.S. steel to be made in Japan. He wants the U.S. to basically produce their own steel. So that's what he said. Besides that, just know that he also mentioned that The BRICS will be hit if they play with the US dollar, and he's threatening a 100% tariff on them if they threaten the US dollar. So that's what he said. And the last thing he said is that interest rates are going to be going down, and then there wasn't really anything else that was too crazy. So, excuse me, very bold things by Donald Trump. He mentions that he wants to increase tariffs on countries that are charging the US already. He's incentivizing countries to lower tariffs on the US so that when the US charges them back, it's going to be very different. And then he also mentioned that he thinks very differently about how other countries are kind of like playing the US. He believes that, Taiwan took the chips from the US and the US wants to take them back and things like that. So that's what he basically said. I would say some things were decent, such as the fact that the EU is decreasing tariffs to some extent. But then other things are still to be determined, such as we're going to wait and see how other countries respond to this as he is threatening retaliatory tariffs. Despite that, the market pumped really, really nicely. The market still saw a very, very good push to the upside. Now, for more news, tomorrow is going to be Friday. We don't really have much data coming out. Just import prices at 8:30 a.m. And then when we open, we have some manufacturing numbers at 9:15 a.m., which is quite minor, nothing too serious. Besides that, just keep in mind we just had Coinbase and DraftKings announce their earnings. And tomorrow we have Moderna. Coinbase is in the green right now, especially because of the fact that there's some regulatory changes that benefit them. The share price is up a little bit right now. It already pumped so much. It pumped about 8% during the regular hours, so it's still up a bit. But one thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that there's a lot of optimism with the current administration. Looking at things to be considered, they are anticipating some good growth. And for the fourth quarter, it had about $439 billion in trading volume. That's up from before. So that's a nice increase, at least thus far. And then they also mentioned that their overall guidance is still decent. This is pretty good right over here as we're looking for some growth. So from that segment, they're up about over $300 million when it comes to their growth. That's what's happening with their subscription-based services, which is not bad whatsoever. So nice growth overall as more people are invested into crypto. Lastly, I want to add this. Tomorrow is going to be Valentine's Day or February 14th in the US. We have about just under 400,000 of these calls expiring. I think it's actually like the 370,000 mark. But then for the others out there, we have about over 723,000 of these puts expiring. That's a 2.09 put to call ratio. Right now, the majority of positions are in puts. So what's happening to the markets is very simple, guys. This is not that difficult to understand. We look bullish. If NIO loses 4.22, we're looking for a dip back down to 4.1. As long as we're above 4.25, we're looking for a push to fill that gap back up to 4.3. We look bullish, at least from a technical standpoint. Let me go over a few more. SPY is looking bullish. If we could break the all-time high in the 610s, we're going to be likely running up to about 615. If we fail to break the all-time high, if we hit 610 and reject, if we get a big rejection, we're going to be looking for 608. If that fails us, we could easily dip back down to 605 or below. So reject and lose 608, we're bearish. Break 610, we're bullish. We're looking for a big pump. We look bullish. Looks like it wants to pump, but we'll see just to be safe. For the QQQ, we have an inverse end shoulders-like structure. When you zoom out, just ignore everything. It's like a left shoulder here, head and then the right shoulder. This looks like it could be targeting around that 540 area. If we're bullish, we're looking for 540 plus. If we're bearish, you want to see us lose 533 to dump below 530. We look a bit more bullish. The Russell is going to be testing 226.5. If that breaks, we're looking for a push back up to 228. If we lose 225, we could turn back down, but this looks a bit more bullish. ES is looking more bullish. We'll see if we continue to break through this trend line. We've broken past 61.25. As long as we're above this, we're favoring 61.50 plus. Once again, as SPY is approaching all-time highs. We'll see if this is truly a breakout. So typically we have consolidation in our breakout, consolidation in our breakout. In this case, it's attempting to do that. As long as we're above 22,000 on NQ, we're looking for an attempt to get to 22,100 or above. If we end up losing 21,500, we could turn back down, but this is looking a bit more bullish. For Bitcoin, we're range bound right now. We need to break past 97,186. If that's the case, we're looking for 90,000. For Nvda, okay, we look bullish. We have this big gap to fill up here. As long as we don't lose 135, we break 135 tomorrow, I think we fill the gap for 142 very soon. If we lose support at 131, we could turn back down. Right now, it's looking a bit more bullish. There's a very promising looking trend. So I'm hoping that we try to hold above 135 to break out higher. If we do that, this will fill the gap, and it does look a bit more bullish. Tesla looks more bullish as long as you don't lose 351, as long as there's no bad news. This is favoring a push back up to this imbalance at 362. For Apple, we look bullish. Nice double bottom. Actually, it's like a triple bottom. And this imbalance could take us up to about 246. We need to lose 235 to turn back down. As long as we're above 240, we favor 246. For others out there, we have Palantir. Nice uptrend. So long as we don't lose 113, this could slowly try to break out for 120. For AMD, this could dip to about 109. We'll see if we bounce off that or not. It's still kind of lackluster. Coin pumped a bit during its earnings, came back down. It's kind of flat. But overall, nice looking setup. It already ran so much. So I wouldn't be surprised if it dips like 290 before it tries to bounce. Amazon's looking for an attempt for 231 to 233. Meta's looking for a 730 plus as it looks a bit more bullish. Microsoft is going to be testing 411, then eventually 415 if that breaks. And then Google is going to be looking for a push towards 188 or above. So I see upside potential in this. That being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Please have a good rest of your day. The stock market is looking more bullish, and then this could help NIO push to about the 4.31 area to fill that gap. I think there's a good chance we try to get up there, and then we'll see how it ends up reacting to that. But I do anticipate some upside, so please keep that in mind. I thank you all so much for listening. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll be back with another update in my next video for tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and peace out.